Okay, hi, I'm John Niparadny, and welcome to our last seminar of the year. This is a special one. We've been doing these all summer long, and what I do is I write for various fishing magazines across the country, and I've also written 2 books, and this is your last chance to get on the discount on both of my books. This one is on fishing like the Ozarks with all the local pros, tips and all. And this one is the 101 bass fishing tips. This was with all the pros I've worked with through the years, just like 300-word little tips, so it's easy reading. So you get on. This is $5 at the seminar. This one's $12 at the seminar, and I can autograph them if you want my autograph. But anyway, that's what I've got going on. I did these seminars in the St. Louis County Parks used to have them, and they discontinued them. So. Teamed up with Bass and Bob, and we decided to do them down here, bring them down to the lake. Well, we didn't bring them down to the lake, we were here. So, but that's what we started, and it's just kind of mushroomed, and I'll let Bass and Bob talk about the rest of the deal.
Yeah, thanks, John. Hey, awesome books, by the way, too. So
they're good books.
If you don't have one of those books, you need to have one of those books. They're great. The one on Lake of the Ozarks in particular is a great reference guide, you know, for any time during the year and different parts of the lakes. Say you're going to be in the Nangle in the summertime, and it's like you can go look at that book and see what Guido Hibden talked about, you know, fishing, catching fish in that area during a certain time of the year. So
I just ordered mine. Okay.
Hey, thank you all for coming today. This is fabulous turnout. I had no idea. I was talking to the folks from Ozark Yacht Club. I said, we may have 5 people, we may have 10 people. It's a Monday morning and all that type of thing. I know it's a very popular topic. It's hard to get people like J.E. Vanetta here from Humminbird and trying to set proper expectations. So then, like I said,
just keep them low.
So you guys have really knocked it out of the park for me. So thank you all for your attendance here today. And also, Linda's running around here, but I want to make sure to thank that if you get a chance to thank Linda for having this set up here. The guys downstairs, Luke and Jason, they do a great job cooking breakfast. Hopefully you all enjoyed the breakfast this morning. They're an advertiser with us, so I try to do my best to promote people that help out Bass and Bob. So hopefully you have an opportunity to come back to Ozark Yacht Club sometime. They have a fabulous breakfast downstairs and lunch as well at Lakeside Cafe. You can pull up right here by the water. And before we kick off, I do want to mention one last thing, is that, during the winter time, it's not easy to find a ramp, or in the off season to find a ramp to put your boat in on the lower end. And, during the winter time, this time of year, all the way through, whatever, March, the lower end is a great place to fish. Big Ed's like, yeah, it's a great place to fish.
It's really not.
We don't need all you. We don't need all you guys fishing there. Well, anyway, in talking with Ozark Yacht Club, there's basically 2 ramps. There's Kaufman Beach, and then there's this ramp that's, I don't even know what it's called. It's off of one of these roads over here, W Road.
Yeah, it's a city ramp, Lake Ozark City ramp.
City ramp. Well, anyway, that one's the water's usually too low to get in. So I talked to the folks here at Ozark Yacht Club. So this is Jennings Branch Cove right out here, Jennings Branch, and I think it's the 1 mile marker.
Yeah.
1 mile marker, and they're going to open up their ramp for fishermen starting October 1st, which they're still finishing up their season here, and then through the end of March. So you'll be able to come in here. Linda and Luke downstairs will always be around. They'll charge just like other places, like $5 or something. I don't think they've decided that yet.
It's on the card.
Oh, they did decide that. Okay. How much for a one-time shot?
Well, we double check, but it's a pass. I'm going to say probably around 5.
There's $35 for an unlimited pass.
That's a great deal.
Yeah. Big Ed says that's a great deal. That's good. Good job. You nailed it, Linda. And then I think they're going to charge like maybe $5 or $10 or something like that. You can get a pass downstairs from Luke, or how can somebody get a pass? See Linda. If you come in here and want to launch, they have their customer guest services building right over here. There's always somebody here. They actually have full marina service here as well. So, got a problem with your motor or whatever, they got the mechanics here. They're here all year. So it's a great opportunity to be able to come right through Osage Beach and launch your boat here versus driving all the way around to Kaufman. So appreciate that, Linda, and appreciate what you guys are doing. So, any questions about any of that?
Yeah, I got a question on that. What about the fuel dock in the wintertime? They gonna have that open?
Fuel dock in the wintertime?
Good question. Let me go grab James downstairs. So
Okay,
let me-
we'll get an answer to that question. But again, it's a great place to launch. They have, you know, they'll have breakfast, they have breakfast and lunch down there, so it's really kind of a nice deal.
It's a nice deep ramp too.
Yeah, nice deep ring. Yeah, that's what I was asking about that, Big Ed. That's a great point. He said even when the water's down, they'll have at least 6 feet of water
Yeah.
at the end of the ramp. So, you know, plenty of there as well. So we appreciate them. And let's go ahead and get started with our topic. So
Sounds good.
we're going to start off with a Humminbird. So welcome, J.E. Vanetta. J.E., thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Well, appreciate the invitation. It's pretty amazing turnout you guys got here too, so thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet.
I'm going to
Go ahead
grab
and
something
jump on
here real quick. First of all, let me tell you who I am. I'm J.E. Vanetta. I actually work with a company called Duncan Lewis. We are the outside reps, sales and service reps for Humminbird, Dakota, Cannon, Lake Master, all the Johnson Outdoors and Marine Group. So we're going to cover basically today some Humminbird stuff, presentations, setups, how to read some of the screens, some of the screen captures we've got, get a little bit into the Minn Kota side. If you've got questions, I tell everybody I've got 375 PowerPoint slides. So you can watch all of those, you can ask questions, I'll leave that up to you, all right? No, I do not have that many slides, guys, I promise you, okay? With that said, Duncan Lewis for the outside sales rep group. I do want to introduce, I don't know why I have to introduce him, but you guys know Terry Blankenship back over here?
Yeah.
If you have any, yeah, he's kicking everybody's rear up here, like, aren't you? If you have any questions, stop me and ask, or grab Terry. I'll be glad to try to answer that for you. Now, when I say that, I mean questions on how to operate the equipment or even issues you've got. Guys, I'm a fisherman. I was on Truman Lake for 2 days, Saturday, Sunday. I'll tell you, yesterday afternoon I had troubles with my unit. And you know what it was? Dead battery going down. Okay? Now, when the Humminbird rep has trouble on the water with his units, you know, that's not a good day. Though you start blowing fuses and have battery issues, a lot of times that's the cause or what creates the cause of some of the issues we see in the field. So with that said, if you've been through one, anybody been through one of my seminars before? Say, Terry. Great. Yeah, I can use the same old jokes again. Sonar gives you 2 pieces of information. Guys, I don't care what system you use, 2D, SI, DI, 360, any product brand, they all do the same thing. They give you 2 pieces of information. Anybody tell me what those are? Okay, if you don't start talking, it's going to be a long morning. Okay? Anybody?
Depth and structure.
Depth and water temp.
Depth and water temp? Sonar won't give you water temp. The depth is right.
Depth
Structure.
and water and hardness at the bottom.
Hardness at the bottom, those are all right. But really what I want you to think about is, and when you start talking about some of the displays we have, keep this in mind, it gives you distance from the transducer. We talk about depth, but really we're pinging that transducer, the signal's going out, it's hitting an object and bounces back to us, it's just a timing thing. So then the computer takes that signal and draws it on the screen for us. Okay. You remember the old, there's some gray beards in here, the old flashers?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, how many controls did you have on the old flashers? 1 or 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that one was usually the power button, which was also your sensitivity button. Remember how you set them up? Crank the sensitivity up until what?
You got a double echo.
Start seeing the double bottom, and you were optimized for the water you were in and the bottom content you were on, right? Computers do that for us now, guys. A lot of it's in the background. I'm going to explain some of that to you today, but keep in mind it's just in the background. And it also tells us the relative signal strength or size of the object is hitting, or the hardness. Hard bottom, soft bottom, big fish, little fish, is that right? Big fish, little fish have different returns?
Yeah.
Okay, keep that in mind. Okay, remember what the coverage is. A lot of times when we turn those units on, we think we're seeing everything around the lake, right? We turn on, we got that big eye view. Really, 2D sonar has a limited coverage. It's going to be a circle like a spotlight under the boat. We're taking a flashlight shining on the bottom. So the deeper you are, the bigger that spot gets. The shallower you are, the smaller that spot gets. That's why we had what we call dual frequencies before and dual spectrum now. We give you 2 different cones of coverage. So I want you to realize why we have those and when to use them. And then we have 2D chirp sonar in the center. That's our second frequency, a narrower cone right through here. And that's your 2 basic cones of coverage on 2D sonar. And then we throw in down imaging, which is nothing more than a side imaging beam that's turned down below like this. shoots down straight below the boat, down at the bottom of the transducer, and then we throw in side imaging. Side imaging has a lot larger cone of coverage this way, but a smaller cone of coverage in width. So if you're out in shallow water, looking for laydowns, brush piles, trees, shad, fish, which system is going to be the best one for you to operate to give you the most information? Side imaging. Why is that? The cone of coverage, guys. See how big it is versus the smaller cones of coverage here. If you go, I was on trimming this week, if you go way up the river up there, you've got to drive over the top of something to see it with 2D sonar. In fact, you're probably going to hit it. If you're going to see fish, you're probably scared them off if you run that close with the transducer. With side imaging, I can go through an area, if I want to go a football field or a half a football field, mark brush piles or laydowns, I can do that without driving over the top of it and get those spots to come back and fish. I hear it a lot. I don't see arches. You guys know why we use arches? Looks like a fish. You take mama to the store, you say, I want to spend $3,000 for this unit, then it looks more like a fish, right? They're the beauty shots. I tell everybody, you will not see me on a swimsuit magazine. I'm not in the beauty shot, right? Market is going to pick the best pictures for that type of advertising. The fishermen got it in their mind that I want to see an arch. I want to make sure you know what an arch is. Anybody?
It could be a fish, but
It could be a fish.
But it depends on how fast you're going over.
Bingo. What we do, we have these cones. Can you guys see that in that screen? They yelled out. We have these cones of coverage. Remember on 2D sonar unders? One thing I want you to remember, sonar does what? This is from the transducer, it's signal strength coming back. If we ping it, we draw it. So the more we ping it, the more we draw it on the screen. If a fish comes through that sonar cone, heading this direction, we're going this way, or high in that cone, that upside down ice cream cone, a cone of coverage, we only ping him a few times, right? He's going to be a dot. If he comes in and stays, I'm a table rock guy. I mean, this is what we want to see. We want to be sitting on top of the fish and pinging him right under us. If we ping him, we draw him in the line. We continuously draw that across the screen. If we have an arch, what's happening is that fish is coming in that sonar cone, the cone of coverage, from any direction. Comes in and goes out. So what we're doing is we're pinging that fish in the cone from where he comes in the cone to where he goes out of the cone. That arch is that line that's measuring the distance from that fish from over here, this distance away, to closer, to further away. It's not the arch of the fish. Okay, it's not the size of the fish. It doesn't tell you anything else that we had that fish in the cone and now he's gone. The longer he's in the cone, the flatter that arch becomes. So if you're looking on sonar, any system, dots, dashes, and lines is what you're going to be looking for. Arches are nice and pretty. I'm going to show you some great arch shots. Gives you an idea where they're at. Then you got to go back and get on them or mark an area to come back and fish that area and try to find them or try to locate them. Dual spectrum chirp. Several years ago, we had a competitor come out with chirp system. Do you guys know what chirp is?
Oh,
Okay, I would get phone calls. Do you guys have chirp? I said, well, why do you want chirp? Well, I don't know, but I read on the internet you need chirp. Compressed, high-intensity radiated pulse. It came from radar. I mean, it's been around for a long time. The deep water guys, blue water guys, have used it for years. It's designed for deep, deep water. I'll tell you, we came out with our answer to chirp 3 years ago by taking the transducer we had and doing broad spectrum. Chirp, instead of pinging 283 kilohertz, which is what we used in the past, we spread that frequency band out. And then the processors, the computers, would take that strongest signal and draw that on the screen, kind of filter out the bad stuff. Well, then last year, 2 years ago rather, we went to a true low Q transducer, which does give you true chirp. I'm going to talk a little bit here about the transducers, but what I want you to know is when we went to chirp, I called the engineer and said, I don't like this. Brush pile didn't look like a brush pile to me. Tree didn't look like a tree to me anymore because there's so much more separation. Old school guys were used to looking at those shapes to determine what they are. Well, they changed the picture. I'm going to tell you now, I like chirp an awful lot. All right. Group target separation. Difference between two targets, that's a big deal. Instead of that tree being a blob, now I can see limbs through that tree. Outstanding arches if you want arches. And all the transducers from Helix 579 Gen 2 models and up, all the Solix, I should say, I'm sorry guys, units all now use the full beam, narrow beam, and wide beam frequencies. Now, what I want you to think about, if you're simple-minded like me, the old 200 kilohertz was 1/3 to 1 coverage at the bottom of the lake, meaning if I'm in 30 foot of water, I'm seeing a 10-foot circle on the bottom. The 83 kilohertz was 1 to 1. So if I'm in 30 foot of water, I'm seeing a 30-foot circle on the bottom. So again, if you're running 2D sonar shallow, which one's going to give you the best coverage? 83, right? I ran dual all the time to get the best of both worlds. Same thing now in our dual spectrums. I'm not going to do the coverage anymore because my math sucks, and I'm not going to say what 42 degrees is at 30 foot. But just remember narrower cone and wider cone based on the system you're using. Basic menu settings a little bit, guys. I want to cover this just a little bit and answer any questions you've got. If you purchase a Helix unit, now, we used to come out in normal mode and advanced mode. Now it's angler mode and custom mode. A lot of times I'll talk to people, I'll say hit the menu button twice, go to here, well I don't see it. The reason for that is you're in the angler mode. That reduces the menu options available to you. If you're a fisherman, turn on a custom, okay? Bring it up. Custom mode is the same thing at the setup tab, you just make that selection. If you'll look at the options available right here, see how it opens up a lot of new menu options for you. In fact, here is angler mode and sonar. If you look, those little white arrows down at the bottom of the menu, when they're pointing down or up, means there's more information than we can put on the screen. So if you take that four-way button and go up or down, you've got to see the other menu options available to you. Now if I go to the custom mode, see the arrow? There we go. Menu button once takes you to the menu for the system or the window you're looking at. Menu button twice goes to the main menu. Now, please ask questions. If you got questions, stop me and ask me. If you look across our menu bar, alarms is the first option we have on the main menu. Anybody use alarms? I know somebody does, but somebody told me they had some low voltage alarms. Okay? The only alarm I use the way I fish is a low battery. And I had it going off this weekend, guys. I'm going to tell you that. Running a boat with Helix on it. I had a cranking battery that was giving me 9 volts, and I've got beeping going on. There's a off-course alarm, and there's all different kinds of alarms you can use. Shallow water alarms, fish alarms if you want to use it. Go through the menus, take a look at it, decide what works for you. Just disregard the rest of it. Go over to our nav tabs. If you're running avionics, anybody? Everybody run a Lake Master? Okay. If you're running avionics, this is your main menu, okay? This is where you go through and make the adjustments for that chart that you're using. We're compatible with both systems. Lake Master's our product, and Avionics is one of our competitors' product, but we still are compatible with it and probably will be for quite some time. The reason I say that is, if you go to Arkansas, there's some lakes in Arkansas we've not surveyed. So we don't have a good chart or a chart on some of those lakes. Avionics has got a chart. We're expanding that coverage. In fact, if you guys see Lake Master, we have versions. Version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't mean we've improved anything, haven't gone back and resurveyed anything, it means we've added lakes to it. So before you go talk about updating a Lake Master chip, go on the line, look at the lake list on it, see if it's a lake you fish. You may not need it. And I hate to say that, I'm trying not to get you to buy something, but just don't spend the money if you don't need to spend the money is what it boils down to. A couple things I want to talk about though, guys. If you look down here, casting rings, you guys know what those are. Okay, if you set a waypoint on your unit, you can go into this menu and set a casting ring distance to draw a ring around that waypoint. Now I'm going to tell you here's how I use it. If you want to come back to a waypoint, first of all, when you're driving your boat up to it, start zooming your chart back in. Because the boat icon does not change scale, the chart changes scale behind it. Zoom it in, you'll get closer, more accurate to the waypoint. And if you want to drive over it or guesstimate where it's at, I set my waypoints at 40 foot. I run a 20, 21 foot boat. So I know when I stop on the edge of that ring, if I've got my course projection line across the top of that waypoint, I'm 2 boat lengths away from it to make that cast and hit it. I'm not good at measuring distance on the water, but I can picture boat lengths on the water. The other thing to do, guys, is the waypoints, routes, and tracks. This gives you access to what I call the menu or the library. If you go to there and open up, it's going to show you all the waypoints that you've saved, any routes you have, or any tracks that you've saved. So you can edit those, export those, put them on a chip, share them with me anytime you want to, or with your friends, okay? Any questions? Anybody use trolling grid rotations?
I've got one of the older units. Do all of these menu items show up on the older units all the way up to the newer units, or is there differences?
When you have an older unit, tell me what product you're talking about.
798, 998, 11.
Okay, that'll be on that. And the reason I ask is we have some what we call legacy products, which we no longer update software on. Some of those options won't be available on some of those older products. But if you update the current software, these will be available to you now. That said, you guys have never been to one of my seminars, but the first question is always going to pay off, all right? So I'd rather talk to you and answer questions than go through a bunch of slides. We hear all the time, I don't want to update software. When you come out with software updates, it's usually to add features to the unit, change fonts or colors or color palettes on the sonar system that we're using, but it's not a bad thing to do, all right? I'm a Mac user. Mac comes out with an update, I'm updating my computer because I know there's something in the background that's fixing or adding to the performance of my unit. Chart system. Okay, on the chart system, here's couple things that I do on here. And again, if you got questions or disagree, Terry, don't hesitate to jump in and tell me how you do it. I can set 5 pro staffers up here, you're going to get 5 different opinions because they are opinions, all right? We all fish the equipment differently. What we're going to show you today is how to make some of these changes and improve the display you're looking at. This is going to optimize what you're doing on the water. Terry, again, jump in if you have anything you want to put in or add to it. Okay, map source. If you've got a Navionics and LakeMaster in there, you can use both of them by selecting which system you want to use. If you just stick one in, it's going to automatically read that chart. It's going to pop up at the GPS location you're sitting in. You're going to have to select the lake. If you go down to chart orientation, I know we got a pilot here. What, you run north up on your chart? Pilots like north up. I'm an old pilot. I ran north up for years. The first time you go to a strange lake, you take off in the morning, you're heading south, and now a right turn is a left turn on the chart. You're probably going to change it to course up or head up. I run course up or heads up almost all the time now just for that reason. The other reason is I can get that course projection line in front of me. Now, old pilots will understand this. We call it chasing the needle. Get that course projection line over that waypoint, trying to get up to that casting ring. It's going to lag back behind the boat. So once I get that course projection line set on, I still do the old dead reckoning trick, guys. I pick a tree or a spot on the bluff over there. I head that direction until I get closer. Okay. North reference. I turn mine on. We do it true. Again, pilot stuff. That's going to put the little north logo on your chart. And if you want to know which way the wind's blowing or which direction you're headed, man, that's the easiest way to do it, guys. You get turned around a steep bank lake somewhere. Now, I want to know which way the wind's blowing. That'll give you the direction for what's coming into those banks. Any questions on charts before I move on? Okay, the next one's the one I get pretty excited about, guys. I'm going to get into this a little bit more in depth. This is the Humminbird charts. These are LakeMasters. We came out with LakeMaster a few years ago and put some features on it, which are just pretty incredible. It's a tool for us fishermen. Now, I'm going to tell you this. Everything we put on the boat, trolling motors, depth finders are tools. Pick the right tool to do the job that you're doing. If you're a crappie guy, a walleye guy, a bass guy, a muskie, saltwater guy, you may not use it the same way or the same product, but pick the right tool for the job that you're trying to accomplish. First thing we came out with was water level offset. Question? You don't get 2 hats, okay? I'm sorry.
No. If you've got one of the chips, and you update the chips also, or just the software on the unit?
Now, are you saying map chips or?
Map chips.
Okay, we do not update the map chips right now. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. Software on the units, yes. Now, we used to request or require you to go online to humminbird.com and register your unit by serial number. A lot of guys didn't like to do that because they thought it affected their warranty. Warranty is from date of purchase. Keep your receipt as a receipt for the boat. That's when your warranty starts. When we do an update on charts, like I said, version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's added lakes to it. There's a few lakes we've gone back and resurveyed because we didn't survey some specific areas of it. You go down to Texas, the tournament guys said we want this part of the lake and this part of the lake. We went there first to get them out. Now we've gone back and resurveyed some of those lakes. But online is the best place to check. Humminbird.com, go to charts, and then you'll find a list of below the area that you're in of the lakes that are on there. Shallow water, water level offset, I'm sorry. What's the Lake of the Ozarks at right now? Up.
658.
So it's up how far?
1 foot low below.
1 foot low?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can open up this menu here and I'm gonna see a 0 line. I can go up 30 foot and down 200 foot. So I can adjust the lake level based on the conditions you've got. What that does, it takes our contour lines and matches them to the lake conditions. Now I'm gonna tell you this, when you go down, they're really accurate. When you go up, we didn't get up and survey the bank, okay? I'll just tell you that. We try to do most of them at normal pool. But I was on, again, Truman Lake yesterday. I pull in an area, I check a contour line and check my depth reading on the chart with sonar and make the adjustments that way. So if you forget to check the lake level before you leave the dock, you can verify the lake level by your topographic readings. Shallow water highlights. On alarms, guys, there's a shallow water alarm. A lot of guys usually will stick their hand up and say, that's the only one I use. The reason I don't use it, that goes off based on what? Sonar. So that means I'm there. If I go to shallow water highlight on Lake Master, I can take and shade that depth out to red in a red color. So if I go to Strange Lake and I'm running down the lake, I'll run that out to 15 foot. So if I see red coming down the top of that chart or the bottom of the chart, then I know I've got shallow water coming in front of me. Works a whole lot better than an alarm that goes off when you're there. Depth highlight range. I'm going to jump up above. Depth highlight first. Here's an example I gave you. Last January, I'm on Table Rock Lake. It's home lake. Fish a little club tournament. Call one of our pro staffers. Said, Don, where the Kentucky's at? I need to go catch some Kentucky. I haven't got time to find smallmouth or largemouth. Where are they at? So channel swings off the flats, 35 foot of water. I went to my Lake Master chart. I said the depth highlight at 35 foot. What that does, it takes that 35 foot contour line. I went plus or minus 5 foot, which is the range right here. So from 25 or 30 foot to 40 foot, it turned green on my chart, and I'll show you some pictures of this. I started looking where that green swung into the bank like this in the bluffs, and that's where I went to fish. And we caught Kentuckies. Use it the other way. I do a lot of things backwards. I'll explain that a little bit later. If you start catching them on 12 foot of water, on long points, go to that 12 foot, color it green. We've got crappie guys that push spider rigs on flats for stumps. And if they're hitting stumps in 5 foot of water, and that's where they're catching crappie, then they'll do plus or minus 1 or 2 foot. So that narrow green line is where they navigate the spider rigs, start trying to pick up those fish. Again, I use it backwards. If I catch a fish in certain conditions, certain area, I'm going to put that in the chart, start looking for those spots. And I'll tell you what it does. It makes the lake smaller. Lake the Ozarks beats me up, guys. I mean, I hate this water up here. It's cruel to me. But by narrowing down the depth ranges that you're catching fish at, you can take that big lake, LOZ, and bring it down to a smaller area that you want to fish. Pretty effective that way. Depth colors, guys, we've got a lot of different depth colors on here. I run 4 to 6, depending on the lake I'm on. Afterwards, I can show you on the screen what they look like, but don't be afraid to go in and punch the buttons. Change it to 0, change it to 6, change it to 10. Look at the screen, decide which one you want. I like 4 to 6 because I see creek channels better with my eyes. The color palette changes that, so that makes it more effective for me. Anybody use an auto chart? Okay, on this lake?
I used it up in Minnesota this summer.
Okay. Minnesota, we've got some pretty strong lakes up there, some pretty strong charts, but if you've got, that areas what it does, you've got 8 hours of built-in recording in these units. You can take any lake you go to, turn auto chart on, and lay over the chart that we built any additional information you got. Now, how do you use it? Just big areas?
The lake I was on was only in 10-foot contour lines, and so auto chart, I think, broke it down into 1.
You can make a selection, right? You can change it. Here's what I do, guys. If
You
I've
can
got
only use a 32 gig card in the unit.
nothing bigger than a 32 gig card. If you're doing Auto Chart Pro, then you're downloading it to a SD card, a 0-line card.
Yep, I'm running my Lake Master card on the side. I ran the 32 gig card.
Okay. You're recording Auto Chart on the unit. You can export that with our program. But what you've got is 8 hours of recording, so if you've got a hot spot, you can go over the top of it. You can get additional detail, bottom hardness. If you got grass or weeds up there, we can color that for you. That's a feature a lot of guys around here don't use, but play with it. I'll show you in the menu system later at the units up here how to set that up or how to turn it on or turn it off if you want to. Views, guys, first thing you want to do is go through and pick your favorite screens. We've got presets up here. I use, where'd Terry go? Terry, how many screens do you use?
Probably about 7.
7? I use about 5 or 6. You'll find out the way you fish, there's certain views that work best for you. You can go and hide any of these screens you want to. Turn them off. When you hit the view button, we go forward a page. Hit the exit button, we go backwards a page. So I've had guys, they'll say, go to the side imaging screen. They'll beep, 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 beep. They'll go one too far. They start going beep, 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 trying to get around again. You don't have to do that. Just back up with the exit button. But go in and determine which ones you want to see and which ones you don't. Turn them off. Make them hidden. That way, when you're beeping through those, going through the view or exit button, you don't have to look at them. You can turn it back on if you decide to use them later. And then we got the 3 presets on the front of the Helix that you can pay to your favorites. I'll tell you how I set mine up. The first button is always 2D sonar and GPS. First thing in the morning, where am I going? How deep's the water? Down below there, I've got a 3 wide screen with DI, 2D, and SI on it. It's my big picture sonar. And you'll hear me talk about big picture, little picture. That's my search mode. And then I've got a side imaging screen on my third one because that's when I'm getting down to where I'm narrowing down waypoints. I'm looking at something I want to fish, a structure or fish I'm going to come back and get on. I will tell you this, if you're marking a waypoint, I'll ask you this, what's the best sonar system to use to mark a waypoint? Most accurate waypoint?
Side imaging.
You said that.
Now,
Shut up, Bob. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. Be quiet, Bob. Side imaging. The reason for that is, remember those cones of coverage? If you mark a waypoint in 2D sonar, it's somewhere in that circle. Regardless of where your antenna is located or where the unit's located, it's somewhere in that circle. I never mark a waypoint unless it's just a general, I want to come back, point of interest and look at it on any of those systems. If I'm going to mark a waypoint on structure, it's on side imaging because I got distance and direction on that. I've got a triangle. It's going to be a lot more accurate doing that than it is somewhere in that big cone. My cone of coverage is narrower, remember? And I always move the cursor over to the spot that I want to mark. And I'll hit the zoom button at least once. Pulls up a zoom window. On the outside edges of it are little crosshairs. I'll move those crosshairs like a scope, get it right on the waypoint I want before I hit that mark button. Don't have any trouble finding them after that.
Where does your waypoint come in your boat? If you've got a puck and you've got a transducer on the front and you hit a waypoint on the front, unit instead of the back unit, you got a 20-foot boat, what's...
Yep. This has been around for years, okay? A lot of guys think you need to stack your antenna on top of the transducer. And if all you're going to do is hit the mark button, that's the best thing to do. But the only time you're going to have trouble, let's say you got that 20-foot boat and you're in very shallow water, because remember that cone of coverage is what? Very small at that point in time. So if I have my unit on the bow of the boat and the GPS puck back here and I see it on the bow and I hit the waypoint, hit the mark button, I've marked this spot here. Back into the boat, 20 foot away. The only time you're going to have much trouble with that is if you come at it in the opposite direction, you're going to be double that distance off of it. A lot of times people say they can't find waypoints. Mark it with the cursor, because it takes that GPS antenna from the back of the boat and puts it over on top of the target that you're looking at. Right? You got that? It changes the longitude and latitude from right here, where the GPS antenna is located, to right over here to this brush pile where I want to mark it.
You're moving it. You're moving it.
You're moving the GPS, the longitude and latitude location from the antenna to that structure, that target you're wanting to mark.
And how do you move that?
4-way button. 4-way cursor on your unit.
Okay.
That 4-way cursor on any screen you're on will open up that little icon, the cursor, and then you can move it around any direction on the screen over what you want. Now, remind me, when I get with the 2D screens, we'll talk about this, make it a little more
So how accurate,
understandable for you.
how accurate is the waypoint on down imaging then versus side imaging?
Pardon me?
If you mark a waypoint on down imaging, how accurate is that versus side imaging?
Side image is going to be the most accurate one you can do, and I've got a great picture I'm going to show you to kind of explain DI. Remember down imaging, that cone goes like this under
Right.
the boat?
If you mark like a tree that you just went over on that,
But here's the question I've got for you. I'm going to give you a little hint. If I have a tree on this side of the boat and I mark a waypoint, does it know it's to the left of me or right of me or just somewhere in that down imaging cone of coverage? It's somewhere in that cone of coverage.
Jay, how wide is that down imaging coverage?
Pardon me?
How wide is it?
It's
Down-
based on the depth, okay? Just
So
like
is it-
it's going to
will it
get
go
wider
like-
the deeper you get, Terry, just like you've got in 2D sonar
Or
or
is it
SI.
like 90 degrees, could be, just cut.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I understand what you're asking now. We've cut 45 off the top is what we're doing, okay?
Well, you could be 30 feet off your waypoint if you did it straight down in that cone.
You can be,
I mean, depending on your depth.
you can
I mean, you
be
could be way off.
way off, okay? That's why if I'm marking it what I call a point of interest, it'll be on 2D, it'll be on DI. If I'm marking a waypoint that I'm going to fish, the it's on the side image. That's going to be the most accurate waypoint you can put on your unit. Bob?
Quick question, maybe way off of some of this, but since we're talking about waypoints, is there a way to actually take a group of waypoints and delete them
Yeah.
without doing one by one?
Can you guys hear the question? If you, waypoints, routes, and tracks, that's my library. Keep something in mind too, thanks Bob. But when I save any navigation data, it's saved on the unit, not on the SD card, not on the chart card. It's saved in the hard drive, the computer in this unit right here. If I make any changes, edit it, delete it, add them, I've got to, well not delete and add, but I've got to save any changes I make on icons or colors and tracks, anything like that. Like writing a letter on your computer, printing it, and not saving it, you can't pull it back up on the computer next time. It's going to be gone. If you go into waypoints, routes, and tracks, I can show you on the units, you open up that library, you've got an option tab above there. Go into options, it's going to say, what do you want to do? Well, I'm going to select all, which means if you're going to sell your boat, you want to delete them, get rid of them, you select all, you hit the delete button, they're gone. Or you can select the individual waypoints and then go back and delete just those individuals. So if you've got a group you don't want somebody to see on your boat, you can delete those specific waypoints by going through that. It's kind of easier to show you on the unit itself, that you can individually or in groups, but you have to select them individually, Bob.
And, you know, when they come up, they're gonna be in a sequential order, right? You have to select them by the number, or can you select, like, there's not any way to go?
No, there's not a search feature right now.
Like to be able to, right.
There's not a search feature right now or range. Okay, so yeah, they're going to be listed in the order that you put on.
Okay.
Right. Now you can sort those. If you're sitting out here in the lake, I could go into that same option and sort them by distance from me, or the newest ones from me. And I use distance quite a bit if I'm on a lake. It tells me what list on the top of it. I filled 1197 up with 2,800 whatever waypoints several years ago, and I'm the worst guy in the world at managing waypoints on the water. I hit the mark button, and I got a little blue dot. I don't change the names of them, they go in a number. When you fill one up, you got to take one out to put one in. I spent hours and hours sorting by lake waypoints. Finally I was smart enough to figure out I didn't fish 2 lakes on the same day, so sorted them by dates and started saving them in files. We've got a product called Humminbird PC. It's a free download off the webpage if you're a Windows user. I'm a Mac guy, it doesn't work on Mac. I have a file now for every lake I go to. Went to Truman this weekend. I deleted all my waypoints off the unit, went to Humminbird PC, downloaded my Truman waypoints, put them on an SD card, stuck them in the unit, said, you want to upload the nav data? I said, yes. Put my Truman waypoints on there. I marked some new stuff this weekend. I got home, I downloaded those back to the SD card, go put them back in the computer. If you ever crash a unit, you've had for many years, and you've got 500 waypoints in there, I've seen grown guys cry because they're gone. We can't save them for you, okay? We can't go back and pick them back up. So I don't care what you do or how you do it, but have some type of waypoint management system to save it by lake or by region, whatever. I've got guys that just use different SD cards, and that's fine. If you do that, just remember, when you put waypoints on a unit from the SD card, I'm adding to what's on the unit. When I export them off the unit to the waypoint, or to the SD card, I'm writing over what's on the SD card. So once you write over them, they're gone. Okay? If you didn't have all of them on there, you combine lakes, they're gone. They're written over.
That's only for Windows operating systems?
Humminbird PC is yes. Yeah. You a Mac guy? Yeah, me too.
What about if you got if you had an old Lowrance unit and you wanted to take those and convert them to Humminbird?
Mm-hmm. Depends on what the version you're in. We are a little different. We use what's called a .hwr format for our waypoints. They use about, I think they're like 5, maybe 6 different versions right now based on what product you've got. The older stuff, we can go right in and convert it over. If it's newer stuff, what we do is, well, I'll send you to like GPS Babel and convert those to a .gpx file, which is kind of generic. Then you can put those into a Solix Direct or Helix. You got to go to Humminbird PC and make an HWR file. Yeah, you can do it. We do it quite often. Okay.
If you wanted to delete and then number, how do you find the number on the unit?
Okay.
You have to just go way in it?
Yeah, again, right now, so I'm going to say we do not have a search program to say I got one labeled brush pile 507. I can't go search for that.
Okay.
I'll go to that lake or pull up that area, that waypoint group for mine, and go by date or time or location and try to find it that way. There's not a really good search program right now for waypoints.
But if you wanted to, you're on the lake, you wanted to get rid of the 5 marks that are here, if you go into that mark, you can see the number.
Yeah, here's what I would do in that if I'm understanding you. If I'm sitting here in the lake and I've got 5 waypoints around me, marked today, and you want to get rid of them,
Yes.
I'll sort it by location or by date, because how close it is to me or when to put them in. I select those, and I delete that group. Now, you got a blank look at your face, so make sure you understand me. If I've got a list here of 25 waypoints, and the last 5 I just put in today will be on the top of that list, I can go into that waypoints, routes, and tracks, go to the waypoints, select those 5, hit the delete button, and they're gone.
You can see those on your graph if you on the lake, and can delete them
On the chart page.
as you see them.
But if you got a group, it's a lot easier to do it in a group than go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay. Any other questions? I thought I saw a hand back here. Nope, okay. Accessories, guys, anything, if you're having trouble with the product, if you're running 360, iPi-Link, whatever, and you have any issues with it, go to the accessories and make sure it shows connected and it's on, all right? That's the first call to do. This weekend I had a battery pop and fuse, okay? My units are shut down. Well, when the unit's shut down, it's usually low voltage. If you put power to it, the power is starting to drop, the units will start to do some funny things. The pages may change, it won't respond to you. That's usually low voltage to the unit. I've heard guys call, or they've called me and said, look, I've got a new battery. It doesn't matter. See what's coming to the unit. We have a voltage window you can pull up in the system itself. That tells you voltage to the back of the unit. It's not reading the battery. I was seeing 6.5 and 7 volts yesterday when I turned the motor on. That's enough to shut the units down. Okay.
What do you do about that?
New battery. And that, well, let me back up. If you're running a Solix,
Yeah, that's what
we're going to tell you, and I know you are, we want clean power. What I mean by clean power is, what I do is I go from the battery to the bow of the boat in 12 gauge, I tee at the console, shrink wrap, solder to my unit, and that's my power right off the battery, but you got to fuse it. Okay, 5 amp fuse is what you're looking for, 7.5, so on Solix. All right.
Yeah, mine are hot wired.
Yeah, the only downside of that is you can't turn them off with accessory switches, but that's fine. We don't want you to. We want you to hit the power button and shut them down. Okay. The bad thing is, if you put a cover on it, hit the power button, get up the next morning, the unit's on. Okay, that's the only negative side of doing direct current. So what we do for that is, because the boat harnesses, guys, there's lots of avenues that go off to other accessories. And anytime you weld or solder, split off, there's a potential there for a short, for amperage drop, for voltage drop, and the units are going to be sensitive to that because they are computers. It's like getting a lightning strike on your laptop at home. Okay, it's going to have a reaction to it. So we want clean power. Now, I was running 2 Helix 12s yesterday with 12 amp or 12 gauge up to the bow, fused at the battery, not on the boat system at all. And I had them shut down because my batteries, I knew when I hit the key what it was. There's nothing else on that circuit that could cause it, so it's got to be battery.
When you hit the restore defaults, because if your unit goes low power and it screws up the whole unit, you've got to go to the default. Is there any way to put back in your settings, or do you have to start all over and redo all of your settings from your default?
In Helix, you're going to have to redo your favorites. In Solix, you can take your Solix units, put an SD card in it, and download to the SD card your settings. So if the Solix shuts down or somebody hits default, you can take that SD card, stick it in the Solix, and upload the settings you had before. We don't do that on Helix right now.
On the 998, 1198, which
No.
is that? Is
No,
that the
no,
Solix
that's,
or-
no. 998 is going to be one of the older legacy products.
Yep.
You're going to have to reset your presets, okay?
Okay.
Go back and change palettes. Anything that you've changed, you're going to do it. Max mode and clear mode on 2D sonar, guys. We'll make sure you understand this for fishermen. Max mode, anything in the water that we're pinging, we're going to draw. Okay. So surface clutter, air bubbles, debris, anything like that's going to show on your screen. You're going to hear on the internet a lot that if I'm 20 foot and less, I go to clear mode. If I'm in over 20 foot, I go to max mode. Clear mode clears up a lot of the surface clutter and a lot of the clutter that's in the water, the non-fish stuff. Terry, what do you run?
I run max.
In all water?
Most times, especially on vertical fishing. Especially if I'm vertical fishing,
Okay. How deep?
anywhere from 25 to up to 30 foot.
I'm a table rock guy. 20 foot of water is shallow for me. I run clear mode 90% of the time. The reason for that is I'll run my sensitivity up higher in clear mode and get a cleaner screen for me. Not wrong, not right, okay? It's how you fish the equipment. I want to show you how to make those changes. Make sure you understand this about sensitivity. Sensitivity is not putting power into the unit and pinging more power. When I turn sensitivity down, I'm filtering out some of that return coming back. So the way I explain it, if I'm sitting at a radio, or listen at an intersection of a radio station, you've got the same station on your radio, and you turn the volume down, doesn't turn the radio station down, does it? Okay, you're hearing less music, I'm hearing more music. Same thing on sensitivity. The higher it is, the more music I've got coming back to my unit, the more I can see. If I'm in really deep water, drop shot and spooning, like Terry said, I'll go to max mode, because I get a stronger picture, or more of that picture coming down into the boat itself, okay? What's this, guys? 2D sonar test. When you're looking at 2D, you know, all the technology we've got now, everything's imaging, we're drawing pictures. Okay? We're not just seeing pings and dots and dashes and lines, we're drawing pictures. 2D sonar is still your best big picture searching, high-speed sonar system to use. So get used to looking for patterns inside of patterns, even on 2D sonar. Look at the colors right here. That's the harder bottom. See the color palette? This is actually the projector's kind of changing the screen. It's red on the unit itself. So the harder it is, it's going to be this darker color to the lighter colors down here for softer returns, less energy coming back. The harder the bottom is, more energy it bounces back. The softer it is, the less it bounces back to us. So if you look at the hard spots, what does it look like right there?
Ditch.
Ditch. Okay, what about these hard spots over the top of it?
Probably fish.
That's some kind of bait fish, and that's the
Bridge.
that's the main cluster
Who
of
said
it.
bridge? See these square corners? Top of the bridge is hard. There's the road deck. There's the road coming down, drops into the river channel, comes back up on the other side. That's a bridge. No, not that one.
Well, it looks like it.
Not that one. But these down here, at that depth, is probably brush piles, trees, something like that down next to it. So what I want you to do is start looking inside the 2D sonar. See the green here? A little bit harder color than this color right here, right? So there's something harder inside that pattern. Trees, guys, you can see tree limbs that are horizontal will be a harder return than tree limbs this way. Shall I show you a chirp shot here of why I didn't like it at first, what a tree looks like. What about this right here?
Like a tree.
If we ping and we draw, where's the tree?
Left. On the side.
Tell me where to go.
There.
Right there? Okay. What's this right here?
First
Umbrella rig.
That's a small tree. There's the top of it. Hard enough return, it's blocking what's down below it. All the debris and stuff around the base of the tree, we're getting a return off of. These are fish. See these lines inside the pattern right here? That's fish. Keep in mind, the harder colors in the center of a 2D sonar cone, the farther out on the edge it gets, the softer the return is going to be. The color's going to change. So I can tell on the arch, the top of that arch is probably going to be red if the fish is directly under the boat. If it's blue or green, and then the palette that I use is somewhere on the outside edge of that cone. 2D sonar, I don't know if it's over here, here, there, or there. I just know it's somewhere on the outside edge. If I'm on side imaging, I know that direction or this direction. How about here?
Those are fish.
Those are fish. How do you know that?
They're not moving very much, but they're lines.
Well, see these lines, the longer they are, look at the speed, 0.1 mile per hour. See the lines, if it's in the cone, we ping it, we draw it. See this fish right here? It goes from green to yellow to red. Actually, it should be red on the screen. And then back out. The fish came into the cone and out of the cone slowly, right? I pinged him. This, remember I told you about going to the 35-foot of water and catching Kentuckies? This is that day. That's a school of Kentuckies down on Table Rock Lake.
That's a picture of very active fish.
Anytime you see I call spaghetti, they're moving fish, they're active fish. You're probably going to get a bait from them, probably going to get bit. Not guaranteed, but probably. Now what I'm looking at, guys, this is all history right here. This is most current sonars. It scrolls this direction, that's history. That window right there is the RTS window, the real-time sonar. That's my flasher. Deepwater guys, that's what we're watching. Because if I'm seeing something coming into the sonar cone, you kind of assume it's up in front of you, but it's coming into that cone. And that's what I'm looking at, so I'm starting to throw a bait at. In fact, look at this. What are these right here? Okay, I want you to look at something right here. There's a fish. What's this little blue line coming down like that?
Your line.
That was my spoon. Look what happens. It comes down, jerk it once. What's this fish do? Comes up and hits it. Does what? Takes off with it. I start cranking him up. What do the other fish do? Charlie's got a cheeseburger, right? Look at Charlie's cheeseburger. What happens when Charlie comes up and sees the big white light? They go right back out of there. Okay, again, that's the same thing. Let's see that depth range I'm talking about? It's the same day on Table Rock Lake. Same thing here, but where are the blue lines right there? Missed it, right? But look right here, there's the fish coming into the cone, and that's really what we're going to be throwing at. Any questions?
Is chirp the only sonar you can see your line like now?
No, we could do this on the old systems. 959, or where you said you had, 988. Yeah, you can do it on those too. Where most people have trouble seeing their line or seeing a drop shot bait or a spoon is because if you don't mount that transducer as straight down as you can get it. People ask me, can you drop shot on down imaging? I said, absolutely, you can. Remember how narrow that cone is? But you better be tied up to a bridge pier on the lake with no current in it to keep that bait in that cone of coverage. Once it leaves, we don't ping it. It's gone. So 2D sonar, if you keep it in that cone, you're going to see it. If you bring the sensitivity up, bring the max mode up, or clear mode, get your settings up, you'll be able to see that return. When I go out to set up my boat, I go tie off to a deep dock, and I take and drop a big bait all the way around that trolling motor and try to find out where the sweet spot is, I call it. If that transducer is canted to the right, I'm going to see it over here on the right stronger, and over on the left. I actually take, there's little plastic door shims. Guys, I'll shim my mount. I use transducer shield and saver. I shim it over to get it as straight up and down as I can at the normal boat position, because it changes based on gas and weight and walking around, to get the strongest signals directly into that motor if I can. Any more questions? Any on this?
How do you pick out which frequency you're using? If you have a dual frequency, like 83 to 200 or chirp, or not having it on at all?
Okay, if you guys hear the question, how do you choose which frequency to use? I usually always start off with dual frequency because I got big picture and little picture, both of them working for me. I can see everything both those cones. Now, if I go to Table Rock Lake and I get on fish like this, I'm going to go down, if you're running 283 kilohertz, right, go to 200, the narrower cone. The reason for that is it's zeroed in more on the fish I'm looking at. If I can't find them, I go back to dual frequency, get that big spotlight out, and I start looking for them again. My big picture sonar. Terry, what do you do?
Well, a lot of times I'm just using the narrow one if I'm vertically fishing. Just so I can stay tight, just like I said.
Because I know it's more right here. Okay, if
But
I'm
you
in
have-
33 foot of water.
If you have them both on at the same time,
Color.
color.
Correct. Thank you. Sometimes I lie, guys. Sometimes I do more than one. A really good question. When you're on a 2D sonar, the color tells me how close to the center of the cone, either cone or both cones, that target is. The color palette I use, red is the hardest color. When it turns red, Table Rock, we call them going red. If they're going red, you better get a bait down there. That tells me where he is in relation to that sonar cone. Now again, not direction, but how close to the center he is based on the cone. Mega, we came out with Mega, guys. Why Mega? Well, basically to give us more coverage in side imaging. Mega imaging, 1.25 megahertz. I had one of our guys say it's not megahertz, it's just more kilohertz. Well, that's what megahertz are, okay, more kilohertz. Higher frequency, more detail, less range. When we first came out with the Mega, it was a great product, the detail was incredible, but the range was kind of limited. My rule of thumb was that if I was in 35 foot of water or less in hard bottom, I always ran Mega. If I went deeper, I'd go to 455, had better coverage, less detail, in deeper water, softer bottoms. And we came out with our Mega Plus, guys. It was just pretty quick. I've got screen captures I'll show you, 200 foot left and right, 200 foot deep, with great detail with the Mega Plus. The Gen 3s and Gen 2 Solix and Solix product with the Mega Plus took away the limitation we had before on range based on frequency. Now we got a more powerful sonar. I think it's the best imaging system you're going to see, especially as far as detail.
Question, you're talking about the Mega Plus versus the Mega that we have. If we wanted to go for Mega Plus and all we have is Mega, is that, we don't have to buy a whole new unit, can we get just the transducer?
You can get the transducer, but you will not get Mega Plus. The reason is, it's an entirely different system back behind it. Okay? We like to think we can upgrade just by upgrading transducers, but you think about like the old 998 you're talking about before, that won't run a Mega transducer. The software, the program is just not there to do it. So you've got to upgrade to the unit from Mega Plus. But with that said, how do you fish? Where do you fish? Guys getting on me about, well, I just bought this unit and came out with Mega Plus 3 months later. Now, it's just another tool. If the tool works for you, upgrade. If it doesn't, there's nothing wrong with what you've got as long as you know the limitations of that tool and the performance of that tool. Mega Down Imaging came out also, so now we've got 200 left and right, 200 foot down, and it's incredibly good detail. I'll put Terry on the spot again. Terry, what range you normally shoot inside imaging?
I run 60 a lot for myself, just because if it gets too wide, it's a lot harder to detail things. But if I'm going somewhere new, kind of want to look out. But the Gen 3s, like you said, you can range it way out, and you can kind of go through and pick out some stuff that you want to market, then back fine tune everything down a little bit, kind of downsize to get better detail.
Exactly. Big picture, little picture sonar. I'm a deep water guy. I hardly shoot over 85 foot left and right. Default's 100, used to be 125. But when you take let's say an 8-inch screen, and I put 250 foot of bottom coverage on an 8-inch screen, I'm compressing that data down on the screen. I'm going to lose some detail. If I reduce that range, I've got less data displayed. I'm going to have more detail out of it. It's like watching a movie on a 52-inch TV or a 13-inch TV. It's the same picture, but you're not going to get the same detail out of it. I do big picture stuff. I do exactly what Terry said. I'll run out to 100, 125 foot, and I go through and I mark points of interest or laydowns or brush piles or anything like that. But if I'm looking for fish, I'm ranging down. Now I'm looking for fish. I want to make sure you understand what the Kona coverage is on side imaging. A lot of the questions I get is, look, I don't understand what's left, what's right, or where it's coming from. The transducer is typically on the back of the boat, so everything you see on SI is back behind you, somewhere back there. We have what we call the water column right here, which we're shooting straight down under the boat, and we push that open so we can see what's suspended. If we didn't, it'd get lost in the background. You wouldn't see suspended fish or maybe bait fish. If you're a really shallow water guy, you're in 3 and 4 foot of water, we can turn that contour mode off. Because if you see anything, you'll probably ran into it, right? So we're going to give you better coverage all the way across the board with that contour mode off in shallow water. When I turn it on, then I've got that water column available to me. Anything that's in that water column will now be displayed in the dark spot. Now, we shoot straight down and push it out. If you don't believe me, go right over the top of a tree, directly over the top of it. You're going to see it on both sides of your screen. Because we split it in half and push it out this way. In fact, I can tell looking at a display if you're more to the left side or right side, because the return is going to be stronger on the bigger side of that tree. Water column right there. If you're going to mark, okay, I kind of got away. If you got a 100-foot range for 25 foot of water, how much bottom are you going to see if you've got that contour opened up? You're seeing a water column. Take your depth less the range, okay? So even though you're set at 100 foot, you're not seeing 100 foot left and right. Take that water column out of it because we're pushing that sideways. The question I get a lot is, so if I mark a brush pile right there, how much line do I have to cast to hit it? I don't know. I'm not good at math, I told you that, right? I don't know the Pythagorean theory and all that right angle stuff, so all I'm going to do is throw that direction and try to find it. Or put a waypoint on it, come back and hit it. What do you see? Camels? Anybody else?
Shadow.
Shadows. Bingo. Who said that? Perfect. This is actually, I stole this. I come from National Geographic. If you look real close, that's a camel, that's a camel, that line right there is a camel, that's a camel. This is side imaging, the best display I've seen of side imaging, guys, that you can find. Shadows will give you as much, if not more detail than the target will, a lot of times because of two things. Number one, the orientation of the target to the transducer. If I've got a 5-pounder nose on to me like this, and a 3-pounder sideways to me like this, which one's going to give me the strongest return? The 3-pounder, right? But if you look at the shadows, a lot of times you're going to see a lot more detail. You guys hunt? Deer hunt?
Yep.
Hey, you don't go out looking for Bambi and walking through the trees and antlers. You're looking for movement, for colors, listening for noise. Same thing on imaging. If you're looking just for a fish arch, probably not. A lot of guys say, I don't see fish. Well, here they are on your screen, okay? Start looking for the shadows. This looks terrible to me, guys, from the side there as far as color-wise. Can you see that? Really kind of... Is our tech guy still here, Bob, or something? Can we, yeah, we're really way off on color palettes and detail right here. Let me do a couple things while he's doing that. These dark areas here, guys, are sonar shadows. That's what we call it. If I ping it, I draw it. If I'm pinging the edge of that table, I cannot see the base of that chair. I can't see anything until about, oh, your foot right over there. So that's going to be a shadow, nothing on the screen in that area. So these are shadows on the right side and the left side. There's a difference here. It's kind of hard to tell with the way we're colored up right now in this projector, guys, but this is a harder, straighter line than over here, right? What's the difference between this side and this side right here?
One's the shore and one's trees.
Exactly. This is edge of the lake, and this softer return over here is actually grass. So, but there's enough grass there, or weeds, to block the sonar return back behind it. You'll see this on a sloped, hard bank, guys. It'll be brighter on the uphill side and darker on the downhill side, because our sonar's pinging and going away. Not all of it's coming back. On the uphill side, you'll get a stronger return coming to it. What you can't see, these spots right here, the shadows. Anybody clean that up, man? You've got 3 shadows right here. Those are holes in the bottom of the lake. What's hard to see, if you look at the one right down here, there's a fish sitting right on top of that hole. Now, what is it? Probably a catfish sitting in the hole down there at the bottom, right? But you'll see the shadow of it back here behind. There's a shadow of the fish. See this right here? What's that?
The tail.
Look at the tail of the fish. Carp.
What's the very width of the toe? What causes that?
Pardon me?
Underneath the boat, see how it's, the width is...
Great, that's the water column, remember? That little triangle down below the boat? When we first came out with side imaging, I used this to see trends. There's deeper water, because that column is wider, because it's deeper. As it gets shallower, the column, that water column gets narrower and narrower as you go up here, and it's starting to widen up again right here. So keep in mind that triangle. The deeper it is, the wider it is. That's getting better. Yeah. Okay, see the hash mark right there, the dots, the dash? And then the shadow of the fish back behind it. You guys see that from out there? Is that better? Okay, great.
So you're seeing a slice of the water from up, down, or?
Yep. Transducer is on the back of the boat, and we're shooting these fans that go down like this, all the way across left and right. And we take that center section of it, where they actually overlap each other right there, and we push it out sideways to see this water column right here. If I didn't do that, anything that's in that water column suspended, probably going to get lost in the background unless it's a really hard, really bright, firm target. There's your dash, and there's the fish shadow back behind you guys. Again, dots, dashes, and lines to locate the fish. How about this? Okay, it's kind of hard to see. Can we dim the lights maybe a little bit more? Blacken down. Softer bottoms, softer return, right? Absorbs more energy. Harder bottoms, bounces more energy back to us. So what do we got right here and right here?
Brush,
Pardon me?
brush piles.
Rock piles, okay? Harder return. Brush piles typically going to be a little bit softer return, especially an old one. If you got a brush pile that's been in the water for a while, what happens to it? Gets waterlogged, gets moss on it, gets mud on it. It's a softer surface, softer return coming back. But I don't care if that brush pile is 5 years old, if it's still there, it will leave a sonar shadow. It'll block that signal from getting back behind it. My wife's really good at sitting in the back of the boat going beep, 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 marking brush piles because she knows what the shadows look like. Okay, hard spots here, rocks, shadows back behind the rocks. You can see it right there. What's that? Pardon me?
Fish.
Fish. How do you know it's a fish? Look at the shadow. It's separated from the target, isn't it? The further that shadow gets away from the target, the farther up in the water column that target is. We don't give you depth on side imaging. We give you distance and direction, but no depth. Depth comes from 2D sonar. So I can tell that fish is just a little ways off the bottom, right back here to the left of the boat. How about this? Rocks. Nice bright spots, hard spots, big shadows back behind it. How about right down in here? See those dark spots? Those are holes in the bottom of the lake, right? Again, I can't ping the end of that table, so it's going to be a dark spot, a sonar shadow. But if something is pinging in that shadow, what is that? I tell people it's going to be one of a couple things. Maybe a brush pile or something sticking up out of it that we're pinging the top of the brush pile. Maybe a fish or floating rocks. Okay. How about here? Dead giveaway, right? Look at the shadows. This is the zoom box, guys, I was talking about. When I hit zoom 1, see these little hash marks right here? This is what I use to mark brush piles or laydowns or anything like that that I want to put a secure, an accurate waypoint on. I use that just like a rifle scope to get as close as I can get it. Shadows of the fish right here. How about this? This has got some really interesting things on it, guys. If you look at it, right bottom. Now you can tell what the bottom content is in a lot of cases by the return you get. If it's a clay or small pea gravel bottom, it's going to be fairly bright. It's going to have a smooth surface to it. Start to get some chunk rock in there or larger rocks, you're going to start to see those shadows. I tell people like sandpaper. Look at fine sandpaper, looks smooth, right? Get coarse, it gets that depth to it, start to see shadows and details to it. Right through here, these are all what?
Pea gravel.
Pea gravel or rock. This nice big shadow right here, what's that tell you? What's right there?
Ledge.
It's a drop off, okay? And if you look, see these shadows, these horizontal,
Look like a lay down over the top of it.
right, the horizontal shadows, well, there's a tree right there and a tree right there. Stand-up tree. I can't ping past that tree like I can't this table, so it's going to be a sonar shadow. The longer that shadow is, the taller that tree is, farther up the water column it comes. Now what's back behind it back here?
That's a lay down.
Lay down log, exactly. Okay, shadow on the other side. Over here,
What's in the middle of it? What's the shadow in the middle of it? Is it a big block?
which one are you talking about? Right here?
No, the lay down has a line in it.
That right there, it's a stand-up tree right there next to it. See where the shadow comes out like this? Okay. Shadows. I'm going to tell you. Remember the camel? Okay, that's your camel right there.
Could it be a couple of big limbs coming off of the load?
It coming off of,
Got to lay down.
Lay down.
well, it's separated right there, see it? So it'd have to come over and kind of do one of these, but yeah, it could be. If you really want to know, what do? You come at a different perspective and take a look at it. All right? Because right now I'm shooting this direction only. If I want to see that in a different perspective, we go across it this way and shoot it this way. Guys, I was on Stockton Lake a few years ago and I saw this perfect Christmas tree on the screen. I thought, what's that? I swung back around a different direction to the school of white bass. They did this up in the water column, but from the angle I was at, it looked like this. Okay. So a different perspective gives you a different picture. Another lay down up here, but see the longer shadow there behind it. So what's on this side of it? Probably an old brush pile or a hole. What are these circles right here? Probably catfish beds, right? More than likely. Pretty big. This side over here I really kind of like. What's this down here? Nice big shadow, so it's a big drop off. We're getting a return from this right here. What is that? Tree.
Lay down in the hole.
Lay down in the hole, but I tell you what, look at the shadow over here. What is it?
Tree.
It's an old stump. See the top of the stump? Right there, and the branches, or the roots coming out the bottom of it, and there you go. Okay, how about this? Wow. Okay. There's the water column. These dark spots here are what?
Yeah, channel.
Creek channels. Remember what happens to creek channel? All the debris, the mud, the leaves, everything settles down there, right? Softer bottom. What are these bright marks over here?
Boat anchors.
Boat anchors, that's a good guess.
Or dock anchors.
Well, what about this line over here?
Which column?
Anytime you see straight lines or right angles,
Man-made.
it's man-made, more than likely man-made. So this is the new bridge. There's the old bridge. If you want to raise up the lake, build a new bridge, you flood the old bridge, right? That's what you've got right there. But look at the shadows too. The pole timber here. Now, see this bridge right here? There it is from a different perspective. Okay? So I mean by changing your angle, change the perspective. Let me back up. One thing I almost missed. What are these right here, guys? Okay, the return is about the same as on the bottom of the lake, right? So it's not really, really hard. It's probably not a rock. Anytime you see small bumps like that, with kind of straight edges on the side, flat top, stumps. How about this? Guys, it's going to be kind of hard to see on the screen. I've never had anybody see the fish on this screen yet, but I want to show you something. There's a few in a water column, if you guys can see them back there. This is obviously rocks, correct? Mm-hmm. Shadows to it, hard bottoms, hard returns. That might be one right there. There's a shadow next to it, but if it is, it's sitting on the bottom. Got to run out a creek channel here that's coming in or out. Probably coming this direction, narrow and gets wider. but there's 4 fish on this screen I want you to see before I change it. Anybody guesses it? Okay.
Top and bottom and 2 on the left.
Top and bottom, tell me where to go.
Right there. Couple down, left.
Okay, not in the water column. I gave you those. Okay, water column, dots, dashes, lines.
Bottom
are
right.
easy to see.
Creek channel will be down below.
Creek channel right
On the
here.
other side. Right, over, a little bit more over, right in there.
Okay, could be. I mean, there's some spots right there. Shadows touching it, so it might be a fish, might be a rock, okay? Remember, if it's in the sonar cone, the cone of coverage, we ping it, we draw it, right? May be hard to see. Why don't you guys look right here? See these lines? Can you see them from back here?
Yeah.
What are those?
That's streaking.
Fish. Okay? Dots, dashes, and lines. Get your eyes accustomed to looking for dots, dashes, lines, and shadows. You're going to see a lot more fish on your screen than you've seen before, all right? How about this? What's all this right here?
Shad.
Okay, shad, or if they were in lines, like a contrail, it'd be what? Boat exhaust. You put air bubbles in the water, it's going to show up in the sonar system. If you circle back around, you'll see your own trail in the aerated bubbles under the boat itself. Okay, how about this? Okay, your eye goes right where? That's an old bridge, right? That's pretty easy. Creek channel back over here, dark spots, shadow and drop off. Starting to see it, guys? See the shadows, how they relate to what you got on the bottom? But there's 2 brush piles on here. Anybody see them? Look for the shadows. Remember, the old brush pile is going to be the same texture a lot of times as the bottom itself. Look right here. What are these big shadows right here? Brush piles. Okay. Even if the energy off the brush pile is not bouncing back to you really hard, it's going to leave that sonar shadow back behind it.
Why wouldn't it be a drop-off?
Look at the edges. Now they're softer. So, but I'm going to ask you which one. Well, if you look right there, you can actually see the brush piles right in those 2 spots right there. Which one's the tallest? Tallest shadow, right? Farther up the water column it goes, the longer that it is. Okay, what's this? Had a guy tell me the other day it looked like a spiral staircase. That was a pretty good guess.
Crankshaft.
Crankshaft. That'd be an awful big one.
3-point auger.
Yeah, exactly, but awful big one. Okay, let's do a little bit more. Let's look at it a little bit different angle and look right here. What's that?
That's a screw valve.
Yep. This is actually the dam at Lake Eufaula where Humminbird is made, the original dam. They raised the lake, they built a new dam behind it, opened it up, let it flow through. That's the dam itself. I had guys say UFO, that usually gives it away right there when you see that crank. How about this one, guys? Kind of busy, but there's some neat stuff on here too.
Tires.
Tires, obviously the donuts on the bottom, right? Look at the texture here, softer bottom, harder bottom, lots of laydowns, lots of shadows. Right up here, brush pile, got stuff sticking up on the top of it that's pinging back, giving us a return. So again, it's either something sticking up behind it, or floating rocks, or a brush pile, top end of a brush pile. This is 60 foot right and left, guys. What's this line right here? This is what I really want you to see. It's one of the calls I get about I've got a problem with my unit. I've got these lines off the side of the water column.
Road bed?
Road bed? Nope. It's in the water column. It's in the dark area, right? Prop wash? Prop wash looks like a contrail off an airplane. Now, if you see the jets fly over the blue sky, you see that white puffy cloud back behind it? That's what your prop wash looks like.
Could that be fish?
Nope, it's not fish, not unless they're flying in formation.
Well, you're only going
Okay.
2 miles an hour.
Yeah, but they'd have to stay right there. What this is, guys, when you rig your boat, when the transducer goes on, we shoot shoulder to shoulder off the transducer. So we went clear shot, horizontal off of it and down into the boat. This is return off the boat. The reason I know that is, there's the first ping, there's a second ping, and third ping as far as returns. Remember we set up the old 2D sonar, got a double bottom, that signal's bouncing back and forth off of that. So anytime they're parallel like that, consistent, look on the boat for something that's obstructing the transducer itself, okay? There's some mounts on the market right now which will give you that, so just make it, it's not a product problem, it's an installation problem, okay? Drop off or rock pile right here, shad up into here, drops off this way, uphill this way, a small brush pile right there. Okay, big picture system for me, guys. Side imaging, 2D sonar, and DI all at the same time. Dots, dashes, and lines is what you're looking for. But you can correlate. You see the return on 2D? There it is on DI, there it is on SI. It's somewhere in the sonar cone. I don't know if it's left or right on DI, but on SI, I know where the biggest part of the fish are at, right? Big picture sonar. Why are these lines like this and lines like that now on DI and SI? The longer they're in the cone, we ping them, we draw them. So if they're moving with me and stay in the cone, what are we doing? Dots, dashes, and lines. Okay, what's this? Roadbed? Good guess. What's this right here? Lay down tree. See the log sticking up off the side of it? Sticking up, longer shadow? What's this right here? Well, there's a tree right there. It looks real similar to the tree right there, doesn't it? The shadow? Anybody? Hump? Okay. About one more. What's this right here?
Channel.
Channel? What's that shadow look like? Look at all three of these slides, guys.
They'll lay down.
And lay down. It's in every one of them in the same, about the same spot, isn't it?
You got a hump there, you got deep water on both sides of it?
This is a boat ramp. You hear us talk about setting up the units, okay? When we come out of the box, we're set at defaults. And that's pretty doggone close. Based on the transducer you're using, they're optimized for that picture. When we get on the water and start changing things, what we're changing is displays. What's going on right here, it's the same boat ramp at Table Rock Lake, pretty close to the same depth. I may have missed a little bit here on one or two of these. And when we tell you to run chart speed on your SI, what do we tell you?
Speed of the boat.
Speed of the boat, or speed of the boat plus 1 or 2 points, right? So if your boat goes, how fast your boat, do you know? No. Okay, 3? 3. Okay. Mine goes about 3.5, 3.2. So if you had 1 or 2 points, where's your scroll speed at?
5.
4 or 5, right? When we have a side imaging screen up, the only difference in these 3 slides, guys, right there, and right there, it's the same ramp at 3 different scroll speeds. So the first one, let me back up right here, right there is at 5. When we are scrolling at 5, every ping is 1 line of pixels. You're going to get the most detail in that 4, 5, 6 area on your scroll speed, okay? If I take and make that scroll speed as slow as it goes on 1, I'm compressing that, I'm squeezing it down, I'm losing detail, right? So slower scroll speed is not the best thing as far as detail. But if I take it up to 10, what do I do? Every ping is stretched out on that screen. Now why did I tell you that? If you're looking at brush piles and trees, you want to separate those tree limbs a little bit, speed the scroll speed up, okay? I want to give you the best return, but you'll see more into those branches, more into the trees. But most of the time, we want you to run 4 or 5 or 6 on scroll speed for the best display. That's why we tell people boat speed plus minus 1 or 2 points, because most boats run 3 to 4 mile an hour on idle, okay? 2, 3, 4. You see the difference in those? Okay, Mega DI, guys, it came out in the transducer built into the head of the trolling motor. Advantage to it is no mounts on the transducer, transducer mounts on the motor itself. If you go to an Ultrex, how many guys run Ultrex? Good part of you. That's an electric steer motor with a cable driving foot pedal, right? But just like our electric steer motors, the whole thing rotates. The Fortrex, the upper part of the shaft is stationary and only the bottom part of the shaft rotated. So it was easier to mount a transducer cable down there, or transducer run the cables up. On Ultrex or any electric steer motor, it got more difficult to rig them that way. So through numerous requests, we came out with the Mega DI built-in transducer. You guys have seen some of these screens, okay? Now we've got Mega SI. I've got that one up here on the front. Now I'll tell you, honestly, the Mega SI for bass guys, if you're running 360, you probably don't have use for that tool. A lot of the crappie guys wanted that because fishing spider rigs again, sitting on the bow of the boat, the transducer's right there in front of their feet, not back behind them. Okay, they can push spider rigs, long lines, and be more accurate doing that. Both products are available for you now. I'm sorry, the SI will start shipping in December. And one time we get a lot of questions on, guys, is the built-in SI and the Mega one-boat network system. But I do want to tell you, and I back up a little bit, I'm sorry. If you have a SI or DI motor, question?
I think I know the answer to this, but if I did an Ultrex with a Mega DI transducer built in, and my unit is not Mega, I can't get DI, is that correct?
You can't get Mega, that's correct.
But I can't get down imaging at all, so I can't get it to give me down imaging.
Okay, there's a couple things you need to check on that then, okay? There's an adapter cable for that. You're running Solix or Ultrex?
Or Helix.
Helix. Okay. They come plugged for Solix unit. There's an adapter that goes in there. What unit are you running? Helix?
Helix 10.
10? Okay, we have two adapters, one's for 7 and one's for 8, 9, 10s, and 12s. Just make sure you got the right one on there. If we don't, it's not going to work, okay?
Okay.
If you'll give me some contact information, I'll leave cell phone and call me. I can give you a part number to check on it. Tell right away if that's it. Here's one thing you do have to do though, guys, on the built-in motors. To make this easier for you, we came out last year with a product we had years ago and discontinued called a CHO, which means control head only. There's no transducer in the box. Remember I said they're optimized for the transducer that comes in the box? Well, if you go to a SI or a DI motor, you've got to change your transducer selection. So it goes to a built-in system, which is an option on the new units. If you don't select that, it's probably not going to work right either, okay? So that's the first check. Transducer adapter cable is the second check. If not, there may be a problem with the unit, okay? Which means, right there, we have different adapters for them right there, guys, based on which system you use. 360, got some old shots here. We got a 360 fan in the house. I'll let talk about how he uses it. Guys, 360, we came out with it, I don't know, 6 years ago, maybe 7, in a transom mount unit only. And then through request, we came out with a bow mounted unit. And we came out with the Ultrex, we had to change the mount system, put the bow mount on the Ultrex. It's a love-hate relationship. Who's got 360 besides Terry? How many of you like it? That's typical, okay? I see 1 or 2 hands go down, I'll tell you why. And Terry, please, help me here. If you're running the 360, this is one of the units I don't like default settings on. Because your normal speed is going to be standard speed on a Helix. If I am out on Table Rock Lake here in a month or 2 and I'm chasing Kentuckys and shad up in the creek channel suspended, I'm going to have to turn that puppy up as fast as it goes because now it's underwater radar. I'm looking in the water column only. You literally can watch the shad swim across the screen. If I'm looking at the bottom for structure or looking for fish, Terry, where do you run yours at?
Keep mine pretty consistent distance out.
No, I mean as far as rotation speed on the
I keep it standard because if I run it too fast, it blurs things a little bit more, but that's my thing with it. You know, you just kind of got to play with it a little bit and just see where you're getting your best picture. But people don't realize that 360 is not side imaging. It's always looking at a radius, so it doesn't always draw the same kind of picture unless it's real solid.
He said something right there I want you to key in on. Play with it. All right? Standard speed is setting. If you're looking suspended bottom, that's the best default. That's default setting. That's the best all around.
And I think
If I'm looking,
people's colors have different. Like I am colorblind to certain colors, and there's certain colors that really jump out better for me than they will for somebody else. Like my fishing partner might say, "Oh, I like this other color." Well, you just have to do that and mess with it.
old guys, young guys, our eyes see things different. If you're not changing color palettes and playing with it, you're probably missing stuff too, okay? The point is, on the full 360, I'm going to run standard speed most of the time, but I hate to watch that thing go around that slow. If I'm looking for suspended fish, I'm spinning it fast. If I'm looking at the bottom, I'll tell you how I fish it. I narrow down the area I'm covering. I can go from 180 to little small pie shapes, and I can point them left or point them right. So if you're going down this creek channel here, and the docks are all on the right, I may shoot a 45-degree section only to the right. I'm going to slow it down to fine, fast, or slow. Standard goes down to fine, fast, and down to slow. But if you put a full 360 on slow, I need to time it one of these days, see what the RPM is, because it kills me trying to watch that thing go like this. Okay? It just doesn't work for me. But if I'm fishing that forward, which is what I use 360 for 90% of the time, I'm narrowing down the area that I'm looking at, I'm slowing down the speed. You'll get more detail out of it. Terry mentioned if you got side imaging, we've got a side imaging transducer in that pod that rotates. It's like taking your boat, driving around in a circle. It's going to distort the outside edges if you're going fast. What's this right here? Foundation. How about right here? Look at the 2D side. This is Table Rock Lake, a few years ago. There's the shad. But where are they on 2D sonar? I've got a clue. They're somewhere in the sonar column. 360, where are they at?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock in the crowning cast. I'm at this right here. Big ball of shad. What are these right here? No, that's drop shot and spoons going at them. What are these right here?
Bait fish.
School of bait fish. Now remember, rotates clockwise, so this is new information, this is older information. I know where I'm at, where I need to throw 82 foot of water, Table Rock Lake, catching Kentucky's throwing drop shots and spoons at them, guys, okay? But this is not how I run it, looking at the bottom. If you look at the outside edge, it's just a smeared where it's getting the bottom. I'm looking only in the water column. When I set up sonar, guys, big picture, little picture, water column and bottom. If I'm looking in the water column, I'll set it up one way. You guys know what sharpness is? Okay, you've got sharpness. You turn your sharpness up to high, the bottom gets too grainy for me, but everything in the water column will pop like Christmas lights. So if I'm looking at the bottom, mine's off. If I'm looking at the water column, I'll bring it up to get the best looking display that I can see for the conditions I'm in. Okay, same thing right here. Look at the bottom. 46 foot of water. There's no detail there, but what have I got right here?
Crappie or white bass.
Bait fish? Okay. Look at how soft these clouds are right here versus that cloud right there.
Crappie or white bass. Bigger fish.
Kentucky's. Okay? These are the Kentuckys we were chasing. Think about this. The smaller the fish is, the softer the cloud's going to be. Just like the bottom, you start to get some texture and some depth and some shadows into it, it's a bigger fish. Now I tell you, we've got 2-3 pound shad on Table Rock Lake. I'm sure you guys do up here too. They'll part up just like that. But there's your fish, dots, dashes, and lines, and there they are, 8 o'clock back behind me, right? I know where to throw. Now, how about this? We came out at ICAST and started shipping in December with Mega 360. The limitation to 360 was detail. 455 megahertz only, and if you rotated it really fast, we distort everything. So Mega 360, we took the mega frequencies we have on that side up into the 360 unit itself. Pretty incredible, guys. I'm going to tell you, the details just beyond belief. If you look right there, that's 360 spinning at standard speed. That's the detail you've got in the bottom. Now, I'm going to back up just a little bit.
When is that going to be available?
Pardon me?
When is that available for?
Start shipping in December is what they're telling me, Bob, but just like everything else, they tell me December, I'm going to figure January, okay? You guys know how it is. But here's one thing I want to cover on this first, but jump back. Talk about waypoints. If you've got this tree right here, obviously it's a tree, right? On side imaging or 360 or wherever, see how narrow that line is right there? And how wide the shadow is? What's that tell you? It's a big chunk of tree. If you're going to waypoint this, where are you going to waypoint it? You're going to come back and fish it.
The white part. Right, the base.
Pardon me?
The white part.
The where?
The base of the white
The
part.
white.
Right there?
Yeah.
Okay, if I'm marking a stand-up tree, I'm going to mark the waypoint where the shadow touches the bottom. It's like me standing on the floor right here, where my feeder touches where the shadow starts. Anybody else? I'm going to tell you what I do.
2 waypoints, one there, one at the opposite side,
One there and one where?
all the way down to the end, right there. So
Okay.
there's someplace in between.
I agree. I'm going to put probably at least 5 on it. Waypoints are free, right? If you don't like them, you delete them. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put just like you did, a waypoint at the base, one on both ends of these big branches, and one in the middle of both those big branches. Why would I do that? If I want to come back and fish this, I pull up a chart page. I've got 5 waypoints doing this. I know how that tree is laying on the bottom of the lake. I know if I want to fish down it or across it where to position my boat. They don't cost you anything. Don't like them, delete them later, right? That shows me how to set my boat up when I'm looking at those waypoints on the chart in addition to my sonar.
And you're lining up your cast.
Exactly. Exactly. If I want to come down the branches or up from big end to little end, big end to little end, or little end to big end, or across them, I know where to set the boat, position my boat. Fish that structure. We have 455 available still, guys, but I'll be honestly surprised if anybody uses that much unless you're out chasing big deep water stuff. Spinning it really fast. This is an old slide, but I pull this up every time. You guys, what's this right here? Any idea?
Front of a truck.
Truck? Good guess. How about these right up here?
Schools of bait.
Bait fish or brush piles, good brush piles. This is actually an old stadium down in Beaver Lake where they flooded an outdoor theater. Those are the seats, okay?
Is that right?
Yeah, I don't care what it is, the structure, right? The structure. How about this in megas? What are these right here?
Beds.
Beds, okay? Bluegills start to move up with the banks of Table Rock, guys. How about right here? If you zoom in, you see what's on the beds? Oh, there's the dots. Okay, there's the dots. Again, big picture of that tree right there. This is the detail. See the shadows just like side imaging. Bait fish and fish up in the water column. Fish right there and bait fish up here. But the new Mega 360 it's awesome, guys. I mean, I can't wait. They told me to leave some room in the front of the boat in December or something. Yeah, Terry's. Okay. It's incredible. Okay, pretty incredible. Lake Master, we're about done, guys. If you got any questions, actually we got about half an hour, so.
Well,
We'll give you time to get set up.
yeah, we'll need.
Okay. Go through Lake Master really quick, guys, and we'll get out of the way. Are the Garmin guys here?
I do have a question.
Sir.
I'm looking at buying new ones. You're saying this new 360 won't be out till like January.
December is our release date, right? I'd say.
Is it going to be compatible with the units you have on the table now?
Yep.
Or do I need to wait to get the new units to go with that?
The Mega units is compatible with all the Mega units. In fact, the only thing you've got to do, thank you for reminding me, if you're doing a Mega DI or a Mega SI tolling motor, there's a Y cable you have to put in there to use the 360 if you're not going straight to the unit, only running 360 on the unit. Terry, do you still run a solo unit with 360 or?
I've got the regular 360, but.
I mean, you used to run just one unit for 360 only, didn't you?
I've got all mine tied together where I can do all of it, but most times just one.
Okay, but your 360 is hooked up to just the one unit, okay? Here's the thing, the old 360 was really a depth finder and a processor in that pod. If you think about it, we hooked it up to the network with an Ethernet cable. Right? So regardless of what you had set up in the unit, you plug it into a 5-port switch, you can share it all the way across. The new Mega 360 is a transducer only, which means it plugs into the transducer port on the unit. Then go into the Ethernet cable to a 5-port switch. You can share it across the network via Ethernet, but it has to plug into the back of the unit, so it's a Y cable. So if you want to hook up to a Mega DI, a Mega SI motor, or a US2 sonar motor, you've got to have a Y cable run both the 360 and the other system. You cannot run an SI unit on the 360 unit because we use that SI frequency to run the 360, but the 360 will give you side imaging, okay, if you want side imaging at the back, just like the old units used to do. Okay, level offset, like I said before, raise it up, raise it down based on the conditions. Story I always tells on bull shows several years ago is 23 foot, 24 foot high. My wife called me on Thursday, was pre-fishing, said, how's the fishing going? I said, I haven't been on the lake all day. Where you been? Well, I've been 30 foot up on the shore, been up here. That's where the water was. Now you can raise that and lower that with the Lake Master system. Depth highlight, like I said before, guys, pick the range they're in or your range you think they're at. Color that shade green. I call them my go zones. It narrows down, makes the lake smaller for the areas that I want to fish. Shallow water highlight, again, instead of using the alarms, this is what I use all the time, guys, especially a strange lake. I'll run up to 15 foot and watch, again, those red spots coming down the top of the chart. And here's what it looks like on the display. There's your hump, there's your shallow areas, there's the green areas, the fishing spots for me. There's what we're going to concentrate on instead of all of this area right through here. Now, we have 3 different chart systems. Lake Master Plus, and Smart Strike. Anybody run Lake Master Plus? Okay, we have aerial photos we overlay on the chart. Different from some of the other products where you got satellite images. When we first came out with the other system, I pro staff for the guys on, again, Bull Shoals Lake, called and asked me how I liked it. I said it pretty well sucks because, number one, you show green trees in the bank, and I'm down here in October, there's no leaves on the trees, which, you know, kind of gave them, teased them a little bit. But on the older systems, you could outrun the chart. You'd try to load up that photo, and you'd stop, and reload and stop and reload. The new processors, we don't have a problem with that. With our aerial photos, we don't have a problem with that. But what I can do is I can take our aerial photo, and this is how I use it, guys. Terry calls me, says I'm catching crappie off the end of the docks, 40 foot of water suspended there. I pull up the photo of the area I'm in. I overlay my Lake Master features on top of that. I know which areas I want to go fish. Again, to me, it's a tool I use to make the lake smaller for me. You can adjust the transparency to ghost them on there or make them nice and bright, whichever you want to on the charts itself. Anybody running Smart Strike? Okay, Smart Strike is a system where we have a chart, the same Lake Master chart, but we got a search program in it. When it first came out, I didn't talk about it a lot, guys, because what you do is you put the search criteria into your unit. You're bass fishing, it's wintertime, you want the north banks, and it'll narrow down those areas based on the species you're looking for, bass, crappie, catfish, and put these little red marks or purple marks on the chart that match that criteria. I always told everybody, don't call me if you didn't catch fish in every one of them, all right? That structure that you've identified that's narrowed down in the chart. But again, I use it backwards, kind of like our charts coloring on the shallow water highlights and ranges. If I get out on the lake and I'm starting to catch them, I'm trimming yesterday, on flats and 8 to 10 foot of water with pole timber on it, I put that criteria into the system and it will pop up based on the lake you're at. These little marks right here that tell me that matches the structure. So you know what, guys? I went from here to here to here, had spots to go fish based on the pattern that I was on that day. It changed Saturday to Sunday. We had clouds and a little bit of wind on Saturday and sun, a lot of wind on Saturday, a lot of wind on Sunday. It changed. Put the area in there, the criteria what you're catching them on, and narrow the lake down for it. It's a pretty powerful tool if you use it that way. Spot Lock, you get to you real quick, get out of here, guys. We came out with Spot Lock first. It was a great product. It was the only one in the market. Competitors came out with another system that was more accurate. Well, all of our Bluetooth motors now have got about the best Spot Lock system you're going to see on the water. It's very, very accurate and very, very workable as far as how we fish. Now, what I'm going to tell you is it comes with a heading sensor included in the box. It is not a GPS antenna. It is a heading sensor. It's a compass. You do calibrate it. You've got to drive a circle around until it gets through calibrate to tell the boat where the nose of the boat is. You do have to mount it parallel to the keel of the boat, and you Bluetooth it to the unit, just like pairing a garage door open. If you don't, it has no impact on the accuracy of Spot Lock. I hear that a lot. You know, I'm going to calibrate it, I'm going to update this and make the Spot Lock more accurate. Not the case. What it does give you is jog feature and circle feature. In other words, if I'm sitting on a brush pile right here and I want to move 10 foot over here, I don't have to step on the trolling motor, drive it over here, and set Spot Lock again. I can take my control, I can bump the button to the left twice, and it's going to move that over 10 foot that direction. That does weather vane into the wind, okay? But here's how I use it. Pull up on a point this weekend, I'm on the downwind side fishing, go to the other side, Spot Lock it, I'm on the back of the boat fishing the other direction now. The boat will maintain itself where it's located. Anybody fish with high school kids? I work with a couple of high school kids. Man, it's great. You guys, you're high school kids, looks like, right? Because I can sit at the back of the boat, drive it around with the remote, and lock it down where they want to fish without them having to mess with the trolling motor. Any questions?
Does water temperature affect anything on what we're looking at, like winter? Obviously, water's colder than summertime, but water's hot.
No, water density just affects how fast the signal travels through the water. If you want to see some distortion, go on a river after a big rain with a lot of mud and debris floating down it, then yeah, that can cause some distortion, okay? Sunlight doesn't affect it, water clarity doesn't affect it, unless it's fast, muddy, moving water, then you're going to get some distortion. Any other questions? Okay guys, I got one more thing I want to do here. Just real quick. I think I got it in here. Got on a boat a couple months ago down on Bull Shoals. It happened to belong to a boat rep, and for months he's saying, J.E., my sight imaging looks like, and I'm not going to use the word, okay? And finally I said, okay, I'm not going to mention his name. Let me go take a look at the boat. I told his wife, who met me at the ramp with the boat, it would take me 15 minutes. An hour later, I called her and said, I'm on my way back. I took these screen captures to send to our engineers. I couldn't figure it out. Anybody look at this SI and tell me what they see right there? I mean, there's patterns. Remember, sonar, you're looking for patterns, right? There's patterns. Grass. I'd say, yeah, if it was a fast-moving shallow water or something, I'd say maybe the grass is laying over. Pardon me?
The boat.
The boat? No, it's not the boat. But you're getting closer. How about this right here? These are frequency changes. Guys, I'm going through everything I know on the water to figure this out. Finally, I give up. I got to call engineers. I don't know. I get mad. I turn the boat around, head back to the ramp, and for a split second, I get a good return. Okay, well, nothing changed except me driving the boat. Quick and going like this, right? So take a look at it again. And there I'm starting to get some details. See that streak goes away? So it tells me there's something wrong other than the unit. Okay, I got a shirt up here.
Transducer.
Transducer what?
Transducer.
Pardon me?
Mount backwards. Garbage bag.
Not backwards. Sideways. The factory mounted under the bottom of the boat, a through-hole transducer sideways, so it's shooting forward and backwards, not left and right. This is a rep's boat. He's had for 3 months, okay? So let me tell you, I had some fun with it. I really did. You can see there's a transducer mounted sideways under the boat. There's a little bit different picture. Instead of mounted this way, it's mounted that way, okay? Guys, 90% of the trouble we see in the water is installation issues or power voltage issues, okay? Yeah, we have things break, we have things that go bad, we got the best customer service you're going to see. It'll be 1 week turnaround time to get something back for you, okay? So if you have any questions other than this, guys, let me know.
Two real quick.
Yes, sir.
360 questions.
Yes, sir.
One, we have a really rough lake here, as you know, as you said, people don't like coming here.
Well, with that said, we product test up here, you know that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Call it going to the green room because we're going to go
Good
splash.
place to test. But anyway, on the 360, with the boat waves, I'll be running down the lake and, be hitting boat waves and stuff. And I go to launch my 360 back into the water, and I don't know if there's a gel, is there something in there that it just doesn't work for some period of time?
Okay, here's what I suggest. Okay, when you're running, are you turning the transducer off to ping off?
No.
Okay, guys, if you're going to pull your transducer up, I don't care if it's 2D or 360, put it in standby. The reason is, I'll give an example, 2D sonar this weekend with a guy. Going to make a long run down the lake, let's sit there pinging out in the blue sky, right? Just trying to find something, try to find a bottom. You put it in the water, it's going to take a second to cycle down through. 360, shut it off while you're running so it's not spinning. Let it drop in the water, it'll pick back up a lot quicker that way.
Second question, it seemed like on one of my previous 360 units, I could actually overlay the waypoints, where I could see the waypoints on my 360. Can we still do that?
Yep.
That's something I need to...
Here's, again, Bob, thank you for that. The 360 comes with a heading sensor GPS antenna. The reason it comes with that is to do the overlay for the waypoints. That's all that does. The heading sensor antenna gives you is orientate those waypoints on that screen properly where they belong. Had a guy last week, 2 weeks ago, that said my 360 is backwards. Okay. Here's the back, here's the front. The only way to do that is to mount it backwards on the unit because it's always going to be pointing this direction. It's got a little fairing on the top of it, looks like an airplane wing. White part goes forward, narrow part goes back. Some guys mount it backwards, think it's going to cut through the water better that way. But his heading sensor antenna was not plugged in. Once you plug it in, you get those closer to the waypoints, they'll float around on the screen because the boat's just putting them on the display.
Right.
With a heading sensor antenna on the 360, will orientate them to where you're positioned. Okay. Any other questions?
The Gen 3 Helix 12, how waterproof is it and will it float?
They will float. Extremely waterproof unless you don't up the SD card door. Okay.
Calling customer service, they said I wouldn't use it in a downpour, is what they're telling me.
Okay, I'm going to ask you guys this question. Anytime you call customer service, you'll do what I do. And I don't care if I'm calling Humminbird Cut or anybody else. I mean, I just went through a situation with a car, okay? Hi, this is J.E. Van Atta. Who am I speaking to? Write a name down. Because if somebody tells you something erroneous, let us know. Because they may have misspoke. I can't tell you that. But the frustration I run into, guys, is when I hear a story like this, but you can't tell me who it was. Because I can send it to me then. I can make a phone call.
She said for splashes and light rain, it's fine.
No.
Well, we just went to the tournament and totally soaked. Raincoats didn't even stop us from getting wet. We didn't have seen those issues.
We've got a guy at Lake Fork several years ago that broke a unit off the bow. A guy found it, remember the story, Terry, 2 or 3 weeks later floating. Plugged it in and worked fine, okay? The SD card slots are sealed, guys, but if you go stick it underwater for 2 or 3 days and hold in water, it may leak. But the unit itself is sealed except through the SD slots. There's access through the SD slots. Okay. We can talk when we get through. Any other question? He said that 2 questions.
So
You're new here, huh?
That's a lot of questions. For the Mega 360,
Yes.
do you need to have Gen 3 drive?
Gen 3 in Helix or any Solix?
Okay.
Timed up, Dave.
Just got more.
But again, guys, here's the way I look at it. I wrote an article several years ago about life cycles. And manufacturing, you look at life cycles. We're working on stuff right now that's 6, 8 years down the road, guys. I mean, there's stuff on the table that just blow your mind. We'll have another release next year to kind of get back in the market in some areas. We got some new trolling motor competitors coming out. That's great. I tell you what, I think competition is good for everybody. I love the product that's coming from our competitors because it pushes us, pushes everybody. Think about sonar units. If you bought $11.97 when they first came out, you paid more money for that than you will a 10-inch, not quite a 15-inch Solix right now. Competition is good, technology is good, and it keeps advancing. It's like computers and cell phones, guys. It's the same thing. They're computers. So I love it. I'm glad the new product that's coming out. They're tools. This is what I tell everybody. I don't care if you drive a Ford or Chevy. Learn to use what you've got to the best of your ability and make sure it's a tool that does the job for you. Okay? So don't run out and buy a Mega 360. Well, yeah, run out and buy a Mega 360, but make sure it's a tool that you're going to use so you're happy with it. Okay? Guys, thanks a lot.